and together we are Minting Coins, your trusted source for crypto news, interviews, and what is happening in the Bitcoin and blockchain space. Today, I just wanted to touch base, talk about what's in the news, what's happening, where we are in the world. We have the Facebook Libra coin white paper being released today. I've already had a chance to take a quick peek at that and start getting some insights and analysis, what people are saying about that. There's a lot of really interesting aspects of the Facebook Libra coin, how they've already shifted uh, the ownership to an association, to the Libra Association. They, with the Facebook coin, have already brought on all of these partners to increase the ability for them to be decentralized. They have plans to do proof of stake, to do starting with delegated proof of stake, and then to move from delegated proof of stake to full proof of stake. This, really seems like the Facebook coin is really attacking a lot of different aspects of the cryptocurrencies market. The Facebook Libra coin is going after Bitcoin in terms of using it as a currency and a store of value. The Facebook Libra coin is going after Ethereum in terms of a smart contract platform. The Facebook Libra coin is going after XRP, Ripple, X Rapid Payments Network in terms of its ability to send and receive payments, remittances through banking parties and other financial institutions. And there is a lot happening with the Facebook Libra coin. I really think, especially after taking a look at the white paper and seeing what was written there, that they really have a good idea of what's happening, what's going on in terms of some of the factors and variables that are going to help to make the Facebook Libra coin extremely popular and extremely successful, at least up to their standards, as much as they can control as the world goes through whatever it is that the world is going to be going through. Because a lot of people have been saying for a long time that the world is going to go through a recession. They hear, the people say all the time that statistically speaking, we hit a recession every 10 years. And it has been over 10 years since the last recession. The last recession was stalled and stagnated and sort of held over through all sorts of money printing, quantitative easing, buying of stocks and assets from the public. So the central banks purchasing these assets from the public, preventing the prices from completely dropping. In 2010, after the 2008 financial recession, there was a TARP bailout. That TARP bailout printed trillions and trillions of dollars instantly into the economy. That's why when you look at the money supply in all of those graphs, the amount of money supply really jumps. There's a huge increase in 2010 when the Federal Reserve's central banks purchased all of those assets. They printed all that money. They gave away all of that liquidity to the banks, to these financial institutions who didn't have liquidity, right? And so not only am I thinking about the Facebook Libra coin this morning, but I'm also thinking about global liquidity. That's part of the title of this video. And, global liquidity for a corporation is a little bit different than the global liquidity for a government. And both of those are a little bit different than the global liquidity you or I, of individual people, individual investors, individual citizens of the world who are simply trying to raise our families, live a life, trying to have happiness and life, and just trying to make something better for who we are, for where we are, and I suppose for what it is that we leave behind. And the math is simple, right? You have your total amount of income, your total amount of assets, right? How much money do you make per month, per year? How much are your assets worth in terms of your property and your real estate and your precious metals, your stocks? You add all of that together, and then you divide that into what your debts and your liabilities are. How much money do you owe? And if you own a lot more than your debts, you're doing great. And if your debts are more than your net worth, then that sucks, right? Then you're like most people, you're in a horrible situation where, you probably feel like it's really difficult to get ahead. And I really sympathize, because that's the situation that I and all of us have been living our whole lives. It's the situation that, we saw transpire throughout the 90s. It's a situation that we saw get worse throughout the 2000s, and at some point, there really needs to be a catalyst to recognize that the situations for the majority of the people in the world are very bad situations. This is the reason Donald Trump was elected. Let it be that you support him or not. The fact remains that Donald Trump spoke to the working class people when working class people are feeling left behind. And it may seem kind of ironic with some of the decisions that have been made, but people are struggling with their health care. People are struggling with, healthy food. People are struggling with their rent. People are struggling with the safety for their children to have somewhere great. And it all comes down to, you know, let's just say money, right? And we could get deeper. We can say money is just an extension of energy. Money is just an extension of relationships. Money is just an extension of a ledger and a bartering system. But as people like Andreas Antonopoulos have, come to so eloquently point out, one of the new features of money has been to use money as a system of control. And this system of control has simply been unfairly balanced toward people with, first access to the money supply. So the people who are purchasing money from, the source, it's, they say money doesn't grow on trees. At least I was raised with the saying that money doesn't grow on trees, but at least since 1971, money has been growing on trees. And so they print the money. The first level bankers are the first to get, excuse me, access to this money. Excuse me. Morning coffee. Letting you borrow a huge amount of money to buy a house, 4%. They're letting you or your kids go to school, 6, 7, 8%. They're, doing credit cards at 25%. And in some cases, it's much, much worse. And so the global assets out there and the global debt, right? And then there's the corporate assets and the corporate debt. There's the individual assets and there's the individual debt. There are the public assets and there's the public debt. And so every single level of our society, every single level of infrastructure is dealing with this. This is not a binary situation. This is a global and systemic situation where, money has been a form of absolute power. And with that form of absolute power, there's been absolute corruption. And let it be, that there's just one person who's holding the strings and, forcing it all to happen or allowing it all to happen. Maybe, maybe not. But it's just that there's so many people who have positions of power and they don't want to lose their power. There's so many people that have positions of privilege and they're not even high up the totem pole necessarily, and they don't want to be the ones to fall. They don't want to be the last ones holding the stick. And so when are people going to see what's happening? When are people going to stand up? When are people going to stick up? When are people going to start asking themselves questions and learning what's happening around them? And, I know it's not going to be 100%. I know statistically as a marketer and a business person that it's impossible to get, unless you're doing something catastrophically wrong, your numbers are never going to be 100% success or 0% success, right? If you're, running business marketing systems, or if you're just, running like some sort of race or contest, you shouldn't have 100% of the people win unless it's, in terms of like a real competition, right? If you're like gaining leads from a website or conversions from a website, there's not 100% of the people who are going to, opt into a system. But at the same time, there shouldn't be 0% of the people who opt into the system. That's why with Bitcoin, it's not going to zero. And with Bitcoin, it's not instantly going to $1 million. There'd have to be a catastrophic, failure or a catastrophic event for Bitcoin to go to zero or for Bitcoin to go to $1 million, right? When I first started learning about Bitcoin and getting so hyped and recognizing the earth, and the state of the politics, I kind of freaked out. There's like this sense of urgency around Bitcoin, around cryptocurrency, around digital assets, because everything is so precarious in terms of the United States and world governments and totalitarianism and control. There's a lot of fear in the world. There's a lot of propaganda, especially coming from the mainstream media and the news, just keeping us all on edge. And you, with that, you just have to have a sense of stability. You have to have a sense of consistency. You have to hold on through these ups and these downs, because we're about to hit a wild ride. This Facebook Libra coin, it's 2019. The white paper's out today. People are going to continue reading about this. People are going to continue learning about this throughout 2019. If we have, some sort of reckoning in Bitcoin in the world and cryptocurrency in 2019 or 2020 at the latest, as everyone is predicting, you're going to see markets go crazy. You're going to see crypto markets, go crazy up. In my opinion, that's what we're expecting when the rest of the world starts to sputter and hit these issues. And then 2020, the Facebook coin is going to be released. 2020, it's going to be out there, and there's going to be huge incentives from Facebook to allow not just these corporations to get the majority of the benefit, but they're going to set it up in such a way so if you have $100 in Facebook coin, in Facebook Libra coin, that you are going to be able to make money off of holding that money. Essentially, it's going to be like a bank account, and you're going to get interest. And who knows, maybe it'll last 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 10 years. And at some point, because it's a centrally controlled system, that interest that you're getting, that could become negative interest, right? It's still an interesting situation where Bitcoin is the first name out there. Bitcoin is the big name out there. And what Bitcoin is able to do is to not have a central leader behind it. Facebook has a central leader behind it. It's Mark Zuckerberg. And this white paper was released. There's a fun fact about this white paper is that the lead head of the Facebook cryptocurrency product and, Mark Zuckerberg's name were both left off of the white paper. They're trying to imply that this Facebook Libra coin is not going to be really directly connected to Facebook. They're going to say it's held by the Libra Association, not Facebook. They're going to say the Libra Association is decentralized because of these 20 plus major trusted global corporations. And then they're going to say it's further decentralized because they're going to distribute that power to people around the world, normal users of Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. And this is going to directly affect, that Facebook stock. But with Bitcoin, we just know to a closer degree that there's no centralized leader. We know to a closer, degree that it's been tried and tested and developed upon. And long term, I just see Facebook Libra coin as being the AOL trying to commandeer the system, hopefully learning from some of AOL's mistakes and whatnot. And then Bitcoin is more like the open source Linux, which is going to get, better and more ubiquitous over time as it's built as, a base layer of more and more internet applications. Definitely a lot happening out there, right? And so, what this all comes down to in the long-term scale, again, is really about this global liquidity. It's not just a Facebook coin, but it's about the total assets out there, the total real assets out there versus the total liabilities. The total liabilities are completely out of control. And so other assets, you got to realize real estate those are assets. Gold, precious metals, those are assets. Bitcoin, virtual currencies, those are assets. Stocks and bonds, those are assets. But there's other assets out there as well that might not be so obvious. There's the public roads. Just to give you a crazy idea, I might have mentioned this before, but the public roads, public services can be tokenized and then distributed for local areas, because if the local municipalities go insolvent and they don't have the money to do what they need to do, and they don't have the bailouts to take care of their obligations or even meet the needs of, basic operations, then communities are going to need to come together. And in order for the community where, each of the, member in the community is going to be able to have ownership, if they're going to be, dams and roads and buildings and access to systems, but, and it can go into the way where it's all privatized instead of publicly owned public roads. They could be privately owned public roads because the municipalities could sell the roads, because roads are real assets. And so that's just part of the thoughts of today. Basically, absolute power corrupts. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. The Facebook Libra coin is just really interesting in terms of how they're, sort of catering to the ethos and the philosophies of decentralization while still, trying to maintain this corporate sense of control and regulation. And ultimately, this is about the long game. This isn't about an event that's immediately going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Statistically speaking, it's highly unlikely that, some big event is going to happen today, right? It's not likely that we're going to have like the big one in California. It's not likely that, there's just going to be a big crazy event that happens that sends Bitcoin instantly to $1 million. It's just not going to happen. Physics, gravity, those things exist in math, they exist in numbers, they exist in trading, and this is about the long game. This is about your personal conviction. This is about what you believe and where you believe this is going in terms of people having ownership over their information, people having ownership over their access, and people having ownership over their privacy, especially in a world where the digital identity is going to become more important and more ubiquitous with the physical world. 5G, Internet of Things, AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, Bitcoin, virtual currency, biohacking. The future is a very, very exciting place. We expect it to go on for a long, long time, as well as society. There's going to be ups and downs, but we got to stick together. We can't continue to be divided. And, and if you disagree with me, I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below. And I'd love to know your thoughts about anything that we talked about today. And so, with that being said, there's a lot going on. I'm really interested in, communicating a lot more and learning a lot more and doing a lot more. I've really been holding my visibility back. I've really been hiding. I've really been struck with a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety to put myself out there for a lot of different risks that I'm facing personally and professionally, in my life. But it's really all excuses, and with that, I'm definitely doubling down on my efforts in multiple areas, and I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to, start working on that project that you've been holding off, or start, interacting with people more about, different topics and different hobbies without, getting into arguments and without fighting with them. And I encourage you to, start engaging yourself, start liking videos, start commenting on videos, start helping other people. And if you find yourself in a place of argument or in a place of conflict, just keep on coming back to the place of providing value and how you can provide value. And it's, we got to make money in this world. We have to increase the whole, asset side of the equation for all of us personally. But in order to really be successful, we have to give value. In order to really be successful, we got to be there for each other. And that's what I love about Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of these blockchain projects, EOS and XMR and Ripple and all of them. We all have our dogs in the race and we all have our convictions, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there together. So like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, leave your comments in the notes below, and I'm glad now and forever together.